Hi, folks. So today we'll be going through the editorial of the Economic Times newspaper. There are three editorials which are relevant according to the syllabus. The first one is In Family We Trust As Much Kith as Kin. Second is A Happy Worker is a Productive Worker. And the third is Kumbh is Coming, so Manage the Crowds. So in family we trust as much kiss as kin, individual agency should determine inheritance. So an appellate tribunal ruling that limits income tax exemption to family trusts only if they cater to lineal descendants, that is their bloodline, is unduly restrictive. Situations could arise where intergenerational wealth transfer may be obstructed through unforeseen alteration in the family structure or by choice. Family trusts serve a specific function and their tax treatment has been fashioned accordingly. Yet they lose functionality if they are not allowed to make provisions for a dynamic family structure. Instrumentality of a trust is to address future needs through current resources. These needs should be defined broadly enough to satisfy a wide range of eventualities, including changes to the very definition of family. So it tells about how the business line in case of a family is getting affected. So in case of a family, there is no restriction in terms of the tax or serving any specific function tax treatment, but yet they lose functionality and are not allowed to make provisions for any dynamic family structure. So instrumentality of a trust is to address future needs through current resources, and this need should be widened with all the eventualities to the very definition of family. The family unit exists in a wider, evolving social context, especially in India. Size and composition of families change over time with cultural modification. Family may be the most widely accepted instrument for wealth transfer, but its structure is not set in stone. So, in case of a family, there could be many descendants which are on the line and they can take the inheritance of any business. But that is not set in stone, like as in how the transfer of the property would be taking place. So socioeconomics and individual choice unseat dogmas about what constitutes a parivar and its members. So these two theories, socioeconomics and the individual set choice, they do not set a dogmas about what constitutes a parivar and its member. In today's social structures, kith can be as close as if not closer than kin. So holding on to a single notion of what constitutes family or paring it down to its bare minimum of children, grandchildren, etc., does not serve the larger social good. So, what has been the default setting for inheritance is being supplanted by philanthropy that seeks to establish a wider economic footprint. Wealth concentration imposes its own set of limitations on size of family inheritances. Spread of entrepreneurship requires a higher velocity of capital among generations. These are all strongly influencing wealth transfer mechanisms and, by extension, how family can be interpreted. So ultimately, individuals have the greatest agency of how money moves in society. Apparati such as family trusts such designed to facilitate individual choice over time frames, stretching across generations should amplify it. So interpretations of family are included in this choice. So it basically tells like in a family which has a family line, how the transfer of property can happen from one descendant to other descendant, and there is an appellate tribunal which limits the income tax exemption to a family trust. So there are various situations to it. Then how does the family changes over time, size and the composition along with the cultural modification, or some of few of the dogmas which are constituted with the family and its members. The default setting for inheritance is supplanted by philanthropy that seeks to establish a wider economic footprint. So wealth concentration imposes its own set of limitations on size of family inheritances. So there could be one descendant which in which the whole concentration of the wealth is getting dependent on, and these family trusts should be designed to facilitate individual choice over time frames stretching over across generations. So interpretations of family are included in this choice. This was the first. Second is Kumbh is coming, so manage the crowds. As we see in the news that there are various portals or an app through which all the management of family members and how the crowd is going, how the crowd is like moving, and all those data can be listed down in the app itself. So this is an article which says about how they are going to manage the Kumbh crowds. So this happens generally in the month of January to February, and this time it is going to happen in Prayagraj. So we are as much a religious bunch as we are populous. So with the population, we are also a religious bunch of people, but we are also unhealthily chaotic. The Lord Venkateshwara temple at Tirumala, Tirupati district in Andhra Pradesh is praised as one of India's best managed religious tourism sites. Wednesday night stampede shattered this notion. So there was a stampede which happened on Wednesday night, and at some juncture, overcrowding spiraled out of control as the gates were opened to assist an unwell devotee out of the queue. So in the queue, when an unwell devotee was taken out, so there was a overcrowding which spiraled out of control, and there was a stampede which happened in the night. Pilgrims waiting for hours surged forward, triggering a deadly congestion. Inadequate crowd control measures and procedures were squarely to blame for the tragedy. So the process and how the control measures were taken place, they were to be blamed. In India, where unruly crowd behavior is the norm, you just have to see how air travelers behave the moment a flight lands and comes to a stop. Mere planning is insufficient. More trained personnel than anticipated are required, especially to handle emergencies. This is not a matter of resource. Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanams is one of the wealthiest religious institutions in the world. In 2024 alone, over 22.5 million pilgrims visited the temple, contributing rupees 1,365 crore to Hundi collections. So the damning truth is that India consistently fails to learn from past tragedies or to upgrade its crowd management systems. Only 6 months ago, UP's Hathras district witnessed a horrific stampede where over 120 people, mostly women and children, lost their lives in a frenzy to collect dust from a godman's car tire tracks. Lives here don't seem precious enough. Little seems to change. With the Kumbh starting in Allahabad on Monday, the latest Tirupati incident must serve as a wake-up call. The faithful should not have to visit their places of worship with a sense of dire fatalism. The same holds for crowd management of any high-density gatherings, religious or secular. So the author is trying to tell that with the population, we don't have any uh, healthy, chaotic management. For example, the Tirumala temple at Tirupati, right? It is one of the best managed religious tourism sites, but with the night stampede that happened on Wednesday, with one of the devotee who was unwell and he was taken out of the queue. So the overcrowd spiraled out of the way, and it was uncontrolled. And in the night, the stampede happened. So in India, the author is saying that we are just not trying to learn from whatever the past experiences were. In 2024 alone, this particular temple, which is considered as one of the best managed religious tourism site, collected over 1,365 crore to Hundi collections. But the damning truth is that only 6 months ago, UP's Hathras district witnessed a stampede of 120 people. Mostly they were women and children, and with all this, the author is trying to tell that the lives are not that precious, which seems to the people of India. Even though we had been witnessing so many incidents of fatalism, though we are not trying to learn. So the same holds for crowd management of any high density gatherings, religious or secular. That is all.